Good morning. My name is Dr. Tom Rivera, and welcome to our South Colton Oral History Project. People in our committee are Mr. Frank Acosta, who's behind the camera today, and also Mr. Henry Vasquez, who's also helping us with the project. Thank you guys for the help that you provide for the project. And today is Saturday, February the 7th, and it's approximately 11:30 in the morning, and we're at the Fowle Library at California State University, San Bernardino. And our guest this morning, I said guest, is Mrs. Cecelia Cabrera and her daughters. On the very extreme right, we have Kathy Ornelas, and next to Kathy, we have Rebecca Moreno, and next to Rebecca, we have Ana Lemos. And Becky, I think I have the privilege that you were in my sixth grade class back in 1967, 68. During that period, you were 11 years old back then. And it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
And Cecelia, our guest this morning, as I mentioned, is Mrs. Cecelia Cabrera. And today we'll be talking about her husband, Tom Cabrera. And in getting started, what I'd like to do is, before we get into talking about Tom, I'd like to start talking about you, Cecelia. I'd like to start talking about you. But first of all, tell us, when did you meet Tom?
Well, I met him in 1949. No, that's 1946.
1946? And Cecelia,
Oh,
where did you meet him? Where did
I
you
met
meet
him in front of on Fifth Street in Colton.
In South Colton on Fifth
South
Street?
Colton, yes.
And what were you doing in South Colton?
I was a friend of mine lived in that area too. We're coming back to the movies.
And your friend's name was Nancy?
Nancy Esquer, and she stopped to talk to somebody that lived there, that Rachel. And
Uh-huh.
she stopped to talk to a young man there.
Uh-huh.
And Tommy was in the car, and I'm standing there because he took off, and he's in the car, and I'm standing on the sidewalk. So that's when me and Tommy started talking.
So they did it on purpose. They left you alone with Tommy. That's what happened.
Right.
And under the pretense that you guys were coming from the theater, from the show,
Yeah.
and then you stopped by, and lo and behold, these
Yeah,
two
that's
guys
how
are
we
there.
met, yeah,
And before you know it, just he and Tom and you are together.
Yeah.
And
Just,
then?
little by little, we kept on seeing each other and going to the movies and
Uh-huh.
back, and he always used to take me home, and he did a lot of visiting with my mom and my dad.
And how long did you date?
Oh, 2 years.
2 years?
Two. But
And
2 years.
2 years, and let's see, when did you get married?
There in Colton and San Salvador Church.
And what year?
That was in 1949.
So you dated for 2 years, got married 1949,
Yes.
and you married in San Salvador Church.
Yeah.
And who was the priest that married you?
That was Father Valencia.
Father Valencia.
Yeah.
Father Valencia.
And that was, it was nice.
And do you remember who attended your wedding, your friends?
Yeah, we're trying to think about all of them, and yeah, we had about, must have been 6 or 7, I even forgot how many, but yeah.
And who were your best man and matron of
Okay,
honor?
the best man was his brother, Nick Cabrera.
Nick Cabrera was the oldest of
The
the
oldest.
Cabrera family?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
And then it was Nacho Cabrera and Lalo Cabrera were the 3 padrinos.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, Nico had Molly, a sister of his, to be what we call them,
Maid of honor.
Matron of honor? Okay.
And then it was Connie Cabrera,
Uh-huh.
the wife of Nacho. And then for Lalo, he was not married at the time, and I cannot remember who was his partner.
Uh-huh.
And there was Joe Saldaña, he was very well known there.
Oh, Joe Saldaña was part of the
He was
group too?
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And this
Excuse me.
Beltran was the one that was his partner. And
Who was Joe's partner?
just
Connie?
Connie Beltran.
Connie Beltran,
Uh-huh.
okay.
And then there was Duarte, Mercy Duarte, and I cannot remember who her partner was though. But yeah, I don't remember him. But, and then of course, like I said, Severo Valdez, he was in there with Lee
Saldaña.
Saldaña, but they were already married.
Uh-huh.
At least I think they were, yeah. And who else was there? Oh, there was another girl from Riverside. And she was my brother's, her name was Romana, and my brother was her partner.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So the people on the wedding party were Tom's brothers, and their, I guess, basically their wives,
Uh-huh.
and really Tom's best friends.
Pardon me?
Tom's best friends.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fermin Gonzalez.
Mhm.
He's the one that they were always going out together.
Uh-huh. Was he in the wedding?
No,
Okay.
no, he wasn't. But he was the one that baptized our first boy. That's the way
Okay.
we got him that way.
So anyway, after you got married, then you had 6 wonderful children,
Yeah,
and we have 3 of them here.
yeah.
Right about?
But we had the one boy and the 5 girls.
And the boy Richard was the oldest,
The oldest, yeah,
and then second to Richard.
was Cynthia
Uh-huh.
Avilas now, and then Ana Lemos, and then came Rebecca
Rebecca.
Moreno, and then after that Kathy Ornelas, and then Terry Daglian, I think her name, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And those are all the girls.
So those are your children. What about your grandchildren? How many grandchildren do you
Those are
have?
the only thing is that it's so hard to remember now.
It's hard to remember.
I
Help her,
know.
guys. Help her. How many grandchildren do we have?
16 grandchildren.
Yeah, grandchildren, well, okay, Richard had 3.
Mhm.
And then Cynthia has 5, Anna has 2, and Becky has 2, and Kathy has 3, and Terry
Terry
has
has
1.
one.
So that's a
many
total
was
of how many?
16.
16.
Yeah.
Cecelia, how about great-grandchildren?
Now there we have, okay, with
She
20?
needs help. She
20.
needs help on that.
There's 20
20
great-grandchildren.
20 great-grandchildren. That's a
Yeah.
lot of cabreras.
Yes, yes.
That's a
there-
lot of
Yeah,
cabreras.
and at that time, cabreras were getting, there were not too many cabreras.
And
a
then
boy,
I,
it's only Richard took care of his name.
and yeah, Richard, I know, well, you know, I kind of grew up with your family, so I kind of know the whole family.
Yeah.
I understand that one of your grandchildren, Adam Aviles,
Uh-huh.
when he was a junior in high school, he did decided to do, he decided to interview Tom, his grandfather Tom,
Yeah,
and he had 2 interviews.
2 of them.
And after he did the interviews, he took those interviews and transcribed them to hard copy.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about the interviews that Adam had when he was a junior in high school, and now he's a professor of mathematics
Yes.
in Arizona, one of the community colleges
Yeah,
in Arizona.
right, uh-huh.
So tell me about that interview that he had with your
Apparently-
husband Tom, or your dad Tom. Tell us a little bit about that interview.
He
What did he
was-
learn about his grandfather?
Well, he was raised since he was a little one. They've always were raised together, let's say. And then they moved to Arizona. But anyway, the interview was all by themselves, and I don't know. He was pretty good at how to take the interview from the beginning of his life till the end of school, let's say.
So he started as Tom being a little boy,
Yes.
all the way through the period that he was interviewed.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then of course we got to know him until he passed away. I mean, still,
Mhm,
he was Cynthia's son.
mhm.
Yeah, and that interview is his whole life is there. I was surprised at that.
Tom's whole life is there.
It's all there,
Uh-huh.
just even word by word.
Mhm.
He taped it all. He taped it first and then he typed it.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and like I said, you can read that and, well, you know his whole life is there.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's funny, sometimes you can laugh about it and all that, you know. But you leave like, boy, can't believe it.
Yes.
It's
Well, he did an excellent job on that. Do you remember any of the things that he talked about or that he recorded in that interview?
I think a lot of the stories we grew up with are in the interview, and maybe a little bit more childhood, how he lived in Barstow, and then when they came to Colton, the death of his father, life in,
Oh, so they were from Barstow to be, first?
well, they had traveled some though throughout, all the way to Kansas, to Richmond, California, the state of Kansas, all following the railroad. His dad was, Tomas was, worked for the railroad, recruited.
Oh, his dad's name was Tomas?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Dad
And,
was named for him,
Uh-huh.
Tomas, until
And
he
he was a
changed it.
railroad worker?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Injured.
We used to inspect the rail
The rails,
lines.
on the
Yeah.
little carts that go.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And then they traveled through Kansas, you said?
Yeah, a couple of sisters,
yeah.
one sister or
I guess
two.
that was before Tommy and,
Yeah.
but, yeah, because Tommy was born in Barstow,
Uh,
was raised in Colton.
So your grandfather was a railroad worker, came to Barstow, and Tommy was born in Barstow.
Barstow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you said that your grandfather was sick.
He was injured.
Uh-huh.
He was injured in a worker's injury, really.
And then I understand that he passed away.
Yes, from that injury.
And then your grandmother married a Cabrera.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. And they-
Married, no, not married,
Guerrero.
Guerrero.
A Guerrero,
Yes.
married a
Guerrero.
Guerrero.
Mhm.
And they moved to Colton?
They
Or-
were
They were
in
in
Colton.
Colton.
They were in Colton when all this happened.
Before they were, they.
Yeah, my dad's
married.
father passed away in Colton.
Okay,
1928.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Dad was what, about
Five.
six?
Five, 6 years
Dad-
old.
Yeah,
5
Dad
or
was about
6.
5 years old when
Yeah.
his dad passed.
Yeah.
And then your dad used to say that, I think he told your older sister Cynthia that something about poor. What was that phrase that he used?
We were the poorest of the poor.
We are the poorest of the
We
poorest.
were the
that-
poorest of the
We were the
poor.
poorest of the poorest in Colton.
Yeah.
What did he mean by that?
Well, I think, there was during Depression and living with only my grandmother, really. Single mom, they all had to chip in to try and bring whatever funds they could bring into the family, whether it was, selling newspapers or collecting fruit from, was it Barton or?
Oh,
And then they'd go
Cooley.
around,
Cooley Ranch.
Cooley Ranch.
Oh,
and
the
then they'd
Cooley
go and
Ranch in
sell-
Colton, okay.
Sell the fruit and,
Uh-huh.
wood for their stove or whatever they could. They were, and whether it was taking care of the family while my grandmother was gone.
Uh-huh.
I think one of the stories I remember the most about my dad is how the term machismo was really changed from what he knew, and maybe it was just within his family, but that he was always, I remember him telling me that he was always taught that being machismo meant that you were man enough to take care of your family, that
Uh-huh.
you did what was necessary to take care of your family. If that meant you make tortillas and a pot of beans, that's what you did.
Uh-huh.
There was no, not what it kind of means today
Uh-huh.
to so many people.
So your dad was born in 1922, and he lived
23.
23, and he lived during the Depression then.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And there's another story that he and his older brother Nacho went to downtown Colton, and they saw somebody cleaning bricks.
Brick.
And do you remember that?
The
Ana?
mortar off the brick. And I think Uncle Nacho devised a way to use the bottle caps to scrape faster. So the more bricks they cleaned up to be reused again, the more money they would make. And that was successful until older men came and took their idea and took their jobs too.
Uh-huh.
So, but
Yeah.
they did earn a little bit of money for that.
So they were entrepreneurs
They-
right then
Yes.
and there,
Yeah.
they figured a way to do it easier, make more, and get paid more.
Faster, yeah, more efficient, sure.
Yeah.
Dad had said that Uncle Nacho was the entrepreneur and would have made a good car salesman because he found the work and Dad just went to help. He talked about the railroad cars with, that had carried grain. They would jump on them once they were unloaded and you'd hit the side of the car and you had to tag the wall first so nobody else would get it and beat the side of the car enough, and any grain that came down, they would collect and take home either to feed chickens or make their, grind up and start their.
Well, also another story was that your grandmother always shared whatever they had with the neighbors and the. Do you remember that story, or did you?
I remember Dad talking about how I guess they were called hobos at the time, would come along and how my grandmother would feed them. And I remember Dad saying that he was a little upset, you know, they didn't have much, but Grandma always found a way to stretch to share with others, and that he really learned from that. You know, that you take care of others.
A lot of the lessons then were what he learned as an example from his mom,
Yeah.
since his dad had died so young. But he did remember a lot of stories about his
Yeah.
dad.
There was one that used to make us laugh with, the one with his mother was caught making
She made beer.
Moonshine? No, beer,
Well, you know,
right.
that was during Prohibition, and, you know, where you were not allowed to have any liquor at all.
Yeah.
But everybody, I think, had their own little soterraño, their own little basement where they made their moonshine.
Dad had talked about how the police had come and made them dump the beer onto a tree, and he expected the tree to kind of go like that because, like, people got drunk, that the tree should get drunk too. It puzzled him.
But they didn't do anything against her because they figured she had a lot of children that she was trying to raise and,
Well,
and that's how come.
The other thing is that everybody was doing it across the country, so they kind of nodded and looked the other way. I think
they
it
used to laugh
was
about
very
so many
common.
things, you know?
They did,
Yeah,
they
A lot
did.
of things that was really bad and sad and all that, but yet they could laugh about it
Yeah.
after
yeah.
they went through it and all that, and it was great hearing the
Yeah,
stories then
yeah.
too.
So anyway, you know, Adam did a good job in talking to your dad about growing up in South Colton and being very, very poor and working hard and going to the Cooley Ranch and, you know, picking things that they needed and then selling them. And Adam also mentioned the war when Tom was a soldier and got drafted into the Army.
Yeah.
And he was in the European theater,
Mhm.
in the European theater. And in, what year was it, 44, 45, that he was in France, in the little town of,
43, 44,
What was
43,
it?
44.
the little
Saint-
town of, what was it?
Saint Lo.
Lo.
St. Lo.
Mhm.
And what happened in that little town? Adam talks about it very nicely, but you tell us, what happened?
If I
to him?
recall right, St. Lo was like the transportation hub for the German army, and it was crucial that the Allies take St. Lo to cut off supply to the German army. And my dad's unit, I'm sorry, I always forget, it was a 821st Tank
Tank
Destroyer
Destroyer.
Battalion. And they were outside of St. Lo and had asked for volunteers to go into St. Lo, and I guess to kind of draw fire and
Well, they mentioned that the volunteers that they asked for,
reconnaissance, right.
the volunteers that they asked for were the single men, the
Yes,
bachelors.
yes,
They're not the
because they were
married
gonna
men.
be drawing fire, they were running
Yeah.
reconnaissance.
Uh-huh.
And my dad had volunteered to go in, and you guys are gonna have to help me here.
I think he's by a cemetery.
Yes,
And he ends up going over a wall.
he does draw fire.
Yeah.
They are firing at him, and he jumps into over a fence or something and finds himself laying next to a gravesite and figures, I better get out of here, and this is too much of an omen, and jumps over a wall and into a
the
church.
that had
Yes.
been damaged and
Right.
met another soldier.
And
So
met
they-
another soldier there that was praying, if I remember right. And then another time he was in there, I don't know if you ever heard of Major Howie. He was apparently the person that they had built Tom Hanks' character on in Private Ryan.
Uh-huh.
He and his unit were supposed to be the first unit into St. Lo. And as they were preparing to go in, they were fired upon, and he was killed. And they actually, he was very loved by his unit. They brought him in on a stretcher with a flag and put him on one of the ruined churches there. My dad was there in the square seeing that process happening, and it was a very famous picture in Life magazine.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so even though they said his unit was the first Americans in St. Lo, my dad was there first. My dad was there before.
Well, you know, your dad got wounded there. Tell us about how he got wounded. He had received some cookies from his mom.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
They had been in foxholes all day, they were being shelled, but it had gotten quiet. And at some point, Kathy, maybe you remember that, or Becky, that a plane had come over, and it was probably a scout plane, and some people started shooting at it, so it gave their location away. Then it was very quiet, and he did get the cookies from his mom, our grandmother, and he got out to make coffee, and that's when shelling began again, and he ran, but didn't make it to the
No.
foxhole in time. So, go
He
ahead.
got hit by shrapnel. He talks about still that he was exposed and yelling for help. It took a while before some of the other guys helped him to get him back out of being out in the open.
Talked about how one of the guys was really scared, very scared, and couldn't bring himself out of the foxhole to help my dad. And my dad actually had to cuss at him to make him come out and help him, and he put a tourniquet on his leg. My dad was really, one leg was severely wounded, and the inside of the other leg, and he had some shrapnel wounds to his hand and his torso. And the guy came out, put a tourniquet on, and then left my dad there and got back to the foxhole. Once the shelling and all had stopped, they realized they needed to get him to a medic unit, and they put him on a makeshift stretcher, put him on a door in a Jeep to get him to a unit for
Mhm.
help.
Mhm.
When they got to the unit, my dad didn't want to lose his leg. He was still able to move his toes and fought, you can't take my leg. And so the doctor told him, we'll do what we can. And that was the start of a very long road for recovery for him.
Mhm. How long was he in the hospital?
Oh, gosh, he was
July.
He was
through-
wounded in July.
through August when they finally,
No,
October
October.
when they
October
amputated
13th.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
October 13th on a Friday when they amputated
his
his
leg.
leg.
Well, they
In
did
England.
amputate the
Yeah.
leg.
In England,
Yeah.
what, 3
He-
months later?
He had been
almost?
told that if they could save the leg, that he had lost bone and his leg would be about 6 inches shorter than the other. He was in so much pain, had been in a body cast from the chest down for so long, that he finally,
And lost so
life
much
with,
weight.
life with just 6 inches less, it would have been better to amputate and use an artificial limb.
They had said that he probably would have lost so much circulation that eventually in life he would have
Yeah.
lost the leg anyways, and he was down to like 90 pounds. I really do believe that the amputation probably saved his life,
Mhm.
allowing him to
And a lot of
really
bleeds.
recover.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Besides the amputation, what other wounds did he receive?
He had lost a knuckle on
knuckle?
the side of the hand here. The inside of the right leg, the thigh was pretty torn up as well. And then some piercing wounds to the abdomen.
Mhm.
But the left leg really was the most serious of all the
Mhm.
injuries he had.
Mhm. Now, being in the hospital for so many months and going through so many operations, did he receive any citations?
He did receive the Purple Heart, yes.
Mhm.
I think he was entitled to more, and I don't know if you remember Mrs. Snyder.
Mhm.
She had come by the house. She was a teacher at Garfield, and then, I don't know, she went on to Wilson? But she came by the house. She still communicated. He was a favorite of hers, I think, and took him to go buy the medals that he qualified for.
Those ribbons.
Mhm.
Oh, he had to
And-
pay for them.
Yeah, not the Purple Heart, that one was
No,
given
Yeah,
to
that
him.
one's given,
Right.
but
But
the
there
others.
were others that he could have gotten, and it just,
Or had to go pick him up or something.
Something, yeah.
But he was a little,
Yeah, he was,
he was a little not real pleased with it because he felt like,
he gave a lot.
yeah, yeah.
And didn't feel the need to advertise it.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Need to
He's
beat
very
his chest.
modest
Yeah.
about it, very
Okay.
modest.
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
Purple Heart stayed in its box in the closet or on the shelf for many, many years.
Yeah, till he passed away, we got it up there now.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Schneider, his elementary school teacher,
Mhm.
Is that a fifth grade teacher, was
Fifth-
she?
fifth.
Yeah, fifth grade teacher, I think.
uh, decided that he deserved to receive those medals.
Mhm.
Her ribbons. like you
Yeah,
said.
The
yeah,
ribbons,
the ribbons.
and she
right.
paid for them?
I don't think he allowed her to get them, period.
Uh-huh.
There was something that they picked up there, but I can't remember, a bar or something, I
Right,
think.
Right.
But the others, he didn't want.
He didn't want a lot.
Yeah, because Mrs. Snyder was my dad's fourth, fifth grade teacher.
Really?
Really?
And she was my fourth grade teacher.
Was she
Oh, my
really?
goodness.
Oh,
Her name was Newcomb, when she was my teacher.
oh,
Mrs.
my,
Newcomb.
Really?
Oh.
So did she marry after them?
I think so.
Wow.
Isn't that
Goodness.
something?
It
Because I remember
is.
Dad talking about how, when he
Her
came
husband.
back, he went to a graduation with her, an eighth grade graduation, and she had talked to him about how, her life had been that she hadn't had any children, and him telling her, no, look, these are all your children, all your students through the
Yeah.
years are your children. Yeah.
She was responsible for getting him tested to advance, and went from fifth grade to seventh.
grade.
Okay,
skipped
so he
Didn't have
skipped
to
a
do-
grade.
He did skip a grade.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, from what I can remember, apparently, a lot of them never really liked her. But
She was
yet up to
strict.
now, they never forgot her.
Yeah.
And
He
they
talks
think
about
the world of her.
The
Yeah.
train ride from where they were inducted to wherever they were headed, and that they had often talked about her, even at the barber shop, my uncle Nacho's barber shop. She was mean, but she was a good teacher, so they learned from her. But yeah.
Yeah, they never forgot her.
Yeah.
I never got to know her, but,
Yeah. Well, when she was my teacher, she was very sweet.
Was
and-
she?
Age does that.
Anyway, she was my fourth grade teacher. And then, after getting back from the service, he went to college. Now, where did he go to college?
that was in L.A., she went to Woodbury College.
Woodbury College?
Yeah.
That's a business college.
Yeah, it was, at the time. I understand now it's a university now,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, there was, he lived with his sisters.
In Los Angeles?
Uh-huh,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And he went there and he got his degree.
What did he get his?
Accounting.
In
In
accounting?
accounting,
Is it
uh-huh.
accounting?
But he couldn't seem to get a job.
Uh-huh.
They wanted him to, he could get a job, not in Colton, but to go to another town out of town,
did-
Santa Ana and all
Okay.
these.
Did he graduate from Woodbury in 49, 50, or 51? What did he graduate?
think
Well, see, I
was
graduated
48.
48, so
48 that he graduated?
48,
Graduated.
47, 48, I think.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and, but, he got.
So when he graduated, and then he met you after
Yeah,
graduation.
After graduation.
So that's what attracted him to you.
I don't know, but.
I thought you had typed his thesis, though.
Oh, yeah.
So it was
That's
before he
another thing, but
graduated.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah.
I was the one that did the typing of his thesis, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so it was
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, before he graduated, yes,
graduated.
he did graduate while I was still in high school, that's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, you were still in high school when he graduated?
Yes, I just realized that. I'm telling you my mind. Yeah, I remember that. And then, he got a job with the State Board of Equalization.
Well, before the state board, he got out of college, 48, 49, 48 you said. Was it easy for him, being a veteran and having a college degree in accounting, to get a job?
No,
Did he
it
have an
wasn't.
easy time getting a job?
He couldn't get a job. They didn't want him in certain places. They didn't want him. They would take him to work with him up in, I think it was Santa Ana, someplace
Santa
up
Ana.
there.
Did-
But he said, I want it here. in San
He couldn't get a
Bernardino."
job because he was Mexican, or?
Right.
They don't hire, he was told that they wouldn't hire Mexicans in San Bernardino, but that they could get him a job in Santa Ana or
Los
LA.
Angeles, yeah.
Mhm.
But San Bernardino was closest to his home and his family, and why not?
Uh-huh,
So that's what he wanted.
yeah.
Yeah.
At that time, it was okay, it wasn't a secret. We're not gonna hire you because you're Mexican, you can't do that.
Uh-huh. And that was in late 40s
Yeah.
when
Mhm.
this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did he do if he couldn't get a job
Was it the
in the
American
area?
Legion that helped him?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then Mr. Hellman,
Mr. Hellman.
yeah, he's the one that helped him too. And they talked to, I don't know who this person was, but he got a job. State Board.
The same office, the State Board of Equalization, they couldn't hire him before, after Mr. Hellman, Nate Hellman got involved with the American Legion. all of a sudden they could hire him. They did offer him a job after that.
Mhm.
But it took an intervention
Yeah.
from him to make that happen.
Was your dad part of the American Legion in Colton?
I don't
so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
Nate Hellman was though,
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
so that seems to be the key that turned the lock,
Uh-huh.
so to speak.
Yeah, Nate Hellman, he had a store there in Colton.
Right, Hellman's
Mhm.
department store.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah. So he was the one that made it possible for your dad and your husband to get a job with the Board of Equalization.
Uh-huh.
And how long was he with the Board of Equalization? About
35 years?
35
Yeah,
years?
35 years.
Uh-huh.
He was, he retired as a supervising field auditor with the State Board of Equalization.
Mhm.
Yeah, he had quite a few auditors.
Mm-hmm.
They were-
Reporting to him, yes.
Uh-huh.
And we talked about your, I guess we hit upon your dad saying that in Colton, they were the poorest of the poor. And that they came to Colton, and your grandfather passed away, and then the grandmother married
Fidencio
uh,
Guerrero.
Guerrero,
Mhm.
and then they grew up in Colton. Now, Cecilia, do you remember where their house was? In
Yeah,
Col-
and they're on East End Street. And, it was like just so many years that he was there.
Uh-huh.
Because when he went for the service, he lived in that house. And when he got back, he was there at the same house. When we got married, he was still living in that same house. with his
Oh, that
mom.
was on 10th and 11th Street?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
10th and 11th Street?
On
Yeah.
End Street and, yeah, close to that,
Yeah, 11th Street.
yeah.
So he was there kind of for a long, long time.
When we got married, that's when he moved to San Bernardino.
Okay,
But,
okay.
he was there for quite a few years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I remember your grandmother. I remember your grandmother, not for the moonshine, eh?
Okay.
For the raspados
For
then.
the
But I remember her
raspados.
because of the raspados.
Mhm.
She cornered the market in her neighborhood with raspados.
Yeah.
She made the best raspados,
Yeah, they were
Cecilia,
delicious,
the
yeah.
best raspados.
But Tony
And
was
only a
so-
nickel, Kathy.
Wow.
Only a nickel. But
Tony
back
was
a
so-
lot of
He was so scared. Tammy was not too happy though, because she never got her, what is it,
Business license
Yeah.
to collect the sales tax.
And he
Well,
was
that's right, he
working with the
worked,
state board
he
all
worked
day.
for the Board of Equalization.
That's good, that's good. That's
Well, she
funny.
had it in, so she didn't have to worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they were the best raspados in the
Oh,
world.
they were.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of people, and she used to work at the hard way, the little tiny, little machines to scrape the ice off.
They were that was that hand machine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they were good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do remember that, I do remember that. All the neighborhood kids would be there,
You know?
oh, about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we have our nickel ready so we can get our raspados for the day.
Yeah, that was a thing, quite a thing to be able to have those things.
Uh-huh.
They were delicious.
Yeah. And you mentioned, now, Tommy, tell us about, you mentioned his brother Nacho, and I forgot the name of the other brother. Who was the other?
Lalo
Lalo?
and Nico. And,
Uncle
Carmen.
Carmen Carmelo, and then Uncle
Toban.
Toban. Cristobal.
Okay. And did they have any sisters?
yeah, she had a Maui,
Lorenza.
Lorenza. Lorenza was a twin, but there was one passed away, but,
Mhm.
and born, and,
Frenchie. Francis-
Frenchie.
Francisca. Frenchie.
Yeah, and, Leonidas and Moni, yeah. The last four were Guerreros, and then the others were all Cabreras.
I was gonna ask you, Cecilia, pero se me olvidó, age does these things to us. Se nos bola la onda, we forget things. You said you lived on Fifth Street,
Yeah, no, I lived on West Congress,
okay,
but,
Near Fifth.
that house it was just around the corner on Fifth
on
Street.
Fifth Street?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether we talked about this or not. Frank, did we talk about they moving to Arizona? Anyway, let's talk about you moving to Arizona. You lived in Riverside. You
Yeah.
went to elementary school in Riverside,
Into, junior high.
and then you went to Poly High School in Riverside.
Yeah.
And then your mom and dad decided to go back to Arizona.
Yeah, we couldn't find a place to live, but we came in from Arizona to Riverside.
Uh-huh.
But there was no homes, And that's the only reason why we were headed back to Arizona. They had a house out there. But then they told them about this house on West Congress.
So
And-
on your way to Arizona, you stopped in Colton
Yep.
to say goodbye to some friends?
Some people that were from Arizona too.
Uh-huh.
And he just said,
Can you
"Well,
remember who they
possibly-"
were? Can you remember?
Yeah. Gail was her last name, Guel, Epitacio, y Susana Gail.
Uh-huh.
And they had all girls. They must have had like maybe 6 girls.
Yeah, what was the last name?
And Gail, Guel.
G-U-E-L.
Gail.
Gail.
And still, his one daughter still lives there, but the whole family,
Uh-huh.
they moved out. And all that.
So you stopped there to say goodbye, and lo and behold, there was a house next door
Right across the street from their place.
for rent,
For
and
sale.
for sale, and your mom and dad said, "Aquí nos quedamos."
Yep. Yeah, we had been picking fruit
Uh-huh.
up by San Francisco land, so we had that $1,000, mind you, and that house sold for $1,000.
Oh, talk about
So
good
that's what
timing.
happened, you know. So we ended up buying there, and like I said, once you drink water in Colton, you never leave.
Is that true, Henry?
Yeah, and that house is still there. It doesn't look like the
Goodness.
first when we bought but it's still.
Where is it located? Because Henry lives on Fifth Street.
Well, this is it's on West Congress, and it's the third house from the corner of Fifth and Congress.
Fifth and Congress.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's still there, except it's different now.
Yeah.
And we have people renting it right now.
So that was lucky that you had $1,000,
Yeah.
and the price of the house was $1,000.
Yeah.
So you stayed there.
We stayed there, and we enjoyed our house. And we couldn't find a real nice home, well, this had only 4 rooms, but it was the best thing we had. You know?
Uh-huh.
The only thing is that we would come into the house, which was made it the living room, but they had to go through my bedroom. In order to get to the kitchen, we had to go through my bedroom. And to go outside, we had to go into my mother and my dad's bedroom and then out. So that's the only thing about that house, you know.
Well, in the old days, remember when we talk about poverty and poor and our families coming to Colton, and they did what they could to make life
Yeah,
better for their
yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
But some of that lumber that they built the houses were lumber from the PFE.
You're right.
They would take the boxcars apart and use that lumber, throw it away, and people would go and pick up that lumber and clean it up
Right?
and build one little attachment to what they had, and then another one to what that was built for.
There was a lot of newspaper.
Yeah.
I know when my mom and dad were gonna fix up that one room, and they took part of the wall off in newspapers. I'm telling you, it was the best place to go there and read.
So that was your library.
Yeah, believe me, that was interesting if you could. Now I think about it, of course, at the time I didn't do that.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, that was one thing that we did find was that newspaper.
It was good, the newspaper was good insulation, eh?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
But I guess one way or another they try to make something to do what they wanted to do, and there's things that we were surprised that could be done.
Uh-huh. So, and then your friend, ¿cómo se llama?
Librada.
Librada
Yeah.
Caldera.
But,
Librada Caldera.
Yeah.
Tell us about Librada.
Okay, she was, well, they made a swimming pool.
The father?
The father did, because apparently they were
The
not allowed to go swimming in the other swimming pool area that they had Colton had a swimming pool. but
Her
they-
father was Juan Cabrera.
He was, yeah, and so he built a swimming pool so that people from South Colton had a place to go, you know.
Okay.
And then Librada was the one that was taking care of it most of the time, and boy,
Uh-huh.
she was tall, and she really muscled and all that, you know, but she also did skating. And that piece of cement is still there right in the corner of Congress and Fifth Street, that she and I were always skating. And I think I was, maybe about 3 weeks before we got married, I was still there skating, and she was too. And then she got married a few weeks after I did.
So you were able to take advantage of the Caldera property
Yeah.
and skate there. Did you go swimming there?
No, that I never did.
Mm-hmm.
Something I could never learn. Probably wouldn't be here if I had swimming. But I used to go there. I used to see the people used to go there. It was neat, all that.
Did they have a baseball field?
I understand they used to, but it was not there when we were there.
Okay, and that, you were there in the 40s,
I am-
mid-40s,
We were there in 1944, 45.
45?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what about the, they said they also had a big salon where,
Yes, right on,
Was it-
on,
was it still,
on
uh,
Nawamansa. I remember seeing that place. It was never been painted, it was all brown, but they
But it
did
was still there?
parties there
Uh-huh.
when I came there, yeah.
it was still there?
Yeah, at that time, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then, they had a party there when Tommy graduated from high school and all that, you know. But then I don't know when they knocked it down, but I don't remember seeing it
Yeah.
being knocked down and all that.
Yeah, but during your time, it was still used by
Yeah,
people in the
uh,
community.
Maybe that 1 year that I was
Uh-huh,
there,
uh-huh.
yeah. But, and never apparently was Caldera who did that also,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yeah. They had dog races, but I don't know where in the world they had those, but that was another thing they used to do also.
Oh, and dog races. I understand they also had a bull ring there.
Well, that I don't remember, but I just talk what we used to hear about all of this, you
Mhm,
know.
mhm.
Yeah, they used to have a house where they used to live, a Spanish-style, two-story home,
Was it close to the property?
right across from the swimming pool. That's
Oh,
what it was.
okay.
They knocked it down, and now there's another house there.
Mhm.
And on the other side where that house is, or was, I don't know if it's still there, it was Arthur's
Club.
nightclub up there.
Arthur's Club.
It was in that area,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that was something,
So it's close to that area,
yeah.
yeah. And you grew up in Colton, and then you went to Colton High School.
That's where I went. I taught it there as a sophomore,
Uh-huh.
and sophomore in my junior, senior year, yeah.
And what was your experience like at Colton High School?
Oh, I think it was, I was in so many different schools, but Colton was about the best. I think, I was just telling the girls, it was such a difference there that I find being when I went to Poly High School, no, it was not, and of course the other schools were elementary schools where I went to, which was in Nevada and Arizona, in Mexico, which was.
Well, you were all over the place, Cecelia, yeah.
Yeah, but the worst school, I think, I never forget, was when we were living in Guadalajara. That's when my grandmother was very young. And believe me, I didn't speak much Spanish. And there's Spanish and my Spanish.
How old were you?
I turned 12 when I was there.
Mhm.
And I was just the joke of the people around there, like I said, because I was very different to the kids in Mexico compared to what I was used to, you know.
Well, they picked on you.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was terrible. I played more hooky, I can, to stay away from school.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we came back, and that's when I was in Arizona,
Now, why did your mom and dad go to Guadalajara?
because my grandmother was really ill,
Oh, okay.
and she passed away when we were there. And then they said, well, we might as well go back.
Uh-huh.
And that's what we did, we came back, and my grandfather was there, but he passed away some years after.
Uh-huh.
But that's, we were there 9 months. And that was a 6-year.
Almost a year then. Oh, so, well, just about a school year.
Yeah.
Just about a school year.
Yeah. And that's why I say I can remember that school so well.
Uh-huh.
You know. But well, like I said, it was an experience that I've been through. Let's say because of my dad. My dad was a miner, and we also was in another place where the mine that he used to work in burned, and we had to evacuate that little tiny town, not town, but mining town, out to the mountains. Because
Was it in Arizona?
No, this was in Nevada.
In Nevada?
Yeah, up close to Idaho and up in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember so well that we had to move out of the house, but quick. The fire was so close to our place, and yeah, it messed up the whole mine, burned. And I still have a letter that they was given to give him a job wherever he went at and all that, you know. Which I think, well, gee, something does be there. They had so many papers, I was able to make an album about their life that
Uh-huh.
way. And that mining town was the worst ones that they ever had living there.
Yeah.
And like they said, they were only 3 women, which was my mother, the cook from there, and me, and I was just a little kid. And then kids, there was just my brother and the cook's son and me. The rest of them, they were all just men that were working in that
At the mining?
yeah. And
Do you remember, do you remember the town of the mining company?
They did I think they called it no, Tiger. That was Tiger Mine. Yeah, the Magnum one was in Arizona. This was Tiger something.
Mhm.
And I remember there was no trees. We had to climb this mountain. It was all rock. And I remember coming back. We couldn't even come down. We just had to drag ourselves down.
Mm.
And all that. That was quite an experience. But we had to
Mhm.
move out too.
Mhm.
Because there's just nothing else to do there.
Yeah. In Colton, you said that you enjoyed going to Colton High School.
Yeah.
Did you participate in the, what was the name of the pageant, the Mexican-American pageant?
The Mexican Youth Club.
The Mexican Youth Club at Colton High School.
Yeah. Me and I know Ernest Garcia was part of it.
Dr. Ernie
I
Garcia?
understand that he's still around here.
Oh, he's still, he was part of this university.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, we put on, I did an assembly there, and we made it a Mexican type of style and all that.
Uh-huh.
And it got pretty good.
Yeah. What was your role in it?
I just made it. I didn't participate in it at all. I just knew what I wanted, and I saw to it that Ernie Garcia, he got a band together, and then we had to put a wall. I had somebody sing to somebody that up in that little window,
Uh-huh.
and then Mrs. Pesquera, she had a whole outfit of.
Mrs. Pesquera was a Spanish teacher.
Yeah, and she had outfits for viejitos. They
Uh-huh.
used to do a dance. So she let us have it, and yeah, we had a dance where you put a mask on, and they were all dancing up there. And
El baile de los viejitos.
right,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah.
We had quite a few, and we made it look like a nightclub and all that.
Uh-huh.
So after I graduated from high school, the Civic Club, that was it, they wanted us to put it on again. Apparently there was quite a talk about that
Uh-huh.
program, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I put another one, but this was for the, where we wanted to go. And we didn't have the same people, but we put almost the same thing. It was quite a hit again.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the only time that I did
Yeah.
something like
And when did you graduate from high school?
1948.
1948?
Yeah.
And when did Tom graduate from Colton High School?
42.
In 42?
42.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
After you graduated from high school, did you work?
Well, I couldn't get a job. I had a terrible time getting a job, and I had all for doing office work, from typing and shorthand, just about everything, but I couldn't get a job.
Mhm.
But then I ended up working for cleaners, and it was a bunch of girls that this lady got us, start cleaners in Colton, and they gave us some purple big shirts to wear with a big star in our back, you know. Well, we had a good time though. And we were all over Colton, and then we ended up in San Bernardino, just going door to door, and the lady was driving us around in it. And so we picked up those, at that time, mind you, we earned $5 a day.
Huh?
And I guess that was pretty good money, I guess, for us.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
But we did that for, I must have done it maybe close to 2 years.
So the cleaners would hire you, and you would go to neighborhoods, knock on doors,
Yeah,
and get the business.
yeah.
Okay.
And many a time we did, and she was always out there with us. She was always the one that was driving the car.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, we had a good time.
And how long did you do it for?
I'd say almost more than a year, so I'd
Uh-huh.
say close to 2 years. And we enjoyed it, I guess. There was one lady that she was older as all of us, but there was Rosie Rodriguez, and there was Eva Martinez, and there was another one, Margaret Aranda. Somebody else. Oh, I can't remember. I don't remember that. Oh, yeah, Gloria Macias, I think was. And of course, a lady she was married and had a family and all that, but
Yeah.
she was with us too. But like I said, we had a good time doing
Yeah.
that job.
Well, didn't Margaret Aranda marry Mike Mercado?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mike was quite a ball player.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, she was a senior when I was a sophomore.
Uh-huh.
So I only got 1 year that we were good friends.
Uh-huh.
And that was about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, it's something, I can still remember, it seemed like it wasn't that long ago that we were still in high school. I think Ernest can say, he can tell you quite a bit all about it too. I know we used to do things that,
Uh-huh.
in fact, we were trying to take our typing class, and we had to go, the only time we could take it was in our senior year from 7 in the morning. But we were there because a lot of us never had time to, we never took the class.
Mhm.
So that's the only way I got my typing class, by going 7 o'clock in the morning, and he was one of them too. But those programs that we put on, he was one of them.
Mhm.
That worked at it too.
So both, what,
In fact, he was the president of the youth club,
oh, okay.
and I was a vice president right behind him.
Well, you were a vice president of
Yeah.
the youth, of Mexican Youth Club?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then there was Ruth Sanchez. She was in there in that program too.
Mhm.
And there was another oh, I forgot. I forgot his last name. They used to live there in Colton. There was Stella Paz. I can't remember. Flores, might have been Flores.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But you'll remember, because I'm gonna ask you another question.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned that, that you were quite active in the Catholic Church in Colton.
Yeah.
You were quite active.
I was active in the church there. We did quite especially when the bishop was gonna come over, we did a lot of things and decorate and all that. And then we tried raising money when they put those, for the Cinco de Mayo or whatever programs. We tried earning money. for them.
Jamaicas?
Yes.
Jamaicas.
Yeah. And what else did we do? Well, the church, mostly in the church or something. Thing that we did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And,
Do you remember any of the people that were leaders of the church? Any females that were leaders of the church?
Well, Tula was one of them.
Tula Padilla?
And
Tula
then her
Padilla.
sister Maria.
Maria Padilla, uh-huh.
And then, of course, Manuel. Padilla.
Their brother Manuel
Yeah,
Padilla, okay.
And then there was a Bernal, I forgot his first name, but he lived in the same area. His last name was Bernal. And then there was another one, she was Isaguirre. I don't remember her first name.
Isaguirre?
Yeah. And then there was,
Excuse me.
who else was there? Oh, golly. Oh, Alex Rodriguez. In fact, not too long ago that I saw his obituary that he passed away. And what else? Oh boy, I can't remember anymore right now, I guess. But that was quite a thing. Well, but another thing is we put on we were in a parade. We put on a parade of the I guess from the old time, what do they call it? The beginnings, I guess, of Colton or whatever. And they had the story of, what is it, Ramona and the Indian and all that.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Well, I got to be Ramona.
You were Ramona?
Yeah.
In
And I'm
Colton
telling
or
you, in
Colton High School?
It was in Colton. No, it was, this is for the city.
Oh, for the city of,
City, uh-huh.
and who was the, what was the name of the male, it's the, in Ramona, in Alejandro.
Yes.
Who was Alejandro?
Alex Rodriguez. He's
Alex
one of the different,
Rodriguez.
And the thing is that I think about it now and I think, boy, but I got to sit up there in this little tiny piece with not being tied down. Way up high.
Uh-huh.
And Alex, he was the Indian that was in that program. We got the first place on that float. And that was for the youth, the city club.
The Civic Club?
Yeah. That was,
And where was the play presented?
Well, that was at the high school.
Or at the high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was a parade you were in, right? Was this yours or parade that
Oh,
you
no,
were
no,
in?
no, the parade was a civic club. They
Yeah.
did it, and it was just there in Colton.
Mhm.
And they raised money one way or another. And then I see the Smiling were there, big mistake I made once. I was asked to take, we were having a dinner to raise some money. And they asked me to bring a jar of mustard. Of course, I didn't know anything about this, so yeah, I went home and bought a little tiny jar of mustard.
Well, that was pretty good, Cecilia, because I didn't know what mustard was. I finally went to high school and I learned what mustard was.
Oh, okay. They never let me forget it at all. That was quite there were so many things like that you cannot forget.
Uh-huh.
And you think about them now, and it's interesting and it's enjoyable. And there's so many things you can tell your family
Yeah,
about
yeah.
and all that. But anyway, that's something that I guess up to now I still enjoy hearing about this.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Well, you had quite an adventure in Colton.
Yeah, I think that's why I think I like Colton more because I think people were very They were very friendly.
Mhm.
And in fact, I know there was one time I was collecting for the Red Cross, door to door, me and another girl, Petra Rodriguez, I think was her name. And I mean, there are many times that we got free lunch at somebody's home.
Mm.
Oh, come on in, you just have to eat here and all this and that, you know.
Mhm.
And we saw a lot of that, you know.
Mhm.
And I know even Nacho used to say that too.
Mhm.
And the people were very friendly. They really, just being there in church, we got to know a lot of people there too. But with the cleaners with me, I got to know just about all of Colton because
Mhm.
I was in every one of those homes, picking up clothing for them and all that.
Mhm.
But they were very friendly people as far as I can remember. That's why I say I remember Colton. I think, yeah, I remember it was a very happy place when I was
Mhm. Mhm.
there in Colton. Yeah. And even working, like I said, for politics. It was Mr. Townsend, I believe was his name, that he was very active in politics.
Mhm.
And yeah, he had us out there doing politics work too.
And where did you meet when you were putting the political
To the
information?
Civic Club,
Yeah.
And that was, I know, Ornelas, which would have been her husband's grandfather,
Uh-huh.
was very active in
Yeah.
that.
Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
Cruz Ornelas, your step.
My grandfather-in-law. He would have been my grandfather-in-law.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, there was Luki and Saldana. There was Abril. Was
Oh,
another
Ray
one.
Abril Senior. Ray Abril
Yeah.
Senior was
Mhm.
also part of
They
that.
were very involved with this civic club.
Mhm.
And then, of course, Tommy got very involved in it.
In the Civic Club?
Yeah. I
Uh-huh.
belonged to it, but I was just more listening to.
Mhm.
And of course, whatever Tommy wanted done, I would do it for him,
Yeah.
you know.
But I understand that the Civic Club also helped the first Mexican American get elected to the council in 1948.
Yeah, which was,
It's the Johnny Martinez, Jeremias.
yeah,
Jeremias.
that's
Yeah.
who it was.
He won the election in 1948.
Is that what, yeah?
Then he
okay.
was the first Mexican to be elected to city council.
Yeah, we were also proud. He's the one I think we were going around trying to get people to vote.
Yeah, he was
for
a boxer.
One only.
He was a
because-
boxer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because otherwise they were voting for 2 or 3 other people, and we said, no, just vote for one.
Uh-huh.
But most of the time when they voted for more, they would end up losing.
Uh-huh.
So everybody voted for that one and got it.
Mhm.
And so that was, I remember he was the first one.
Yeah. And then you mentioned that you wanted to buy a house after
Yeah.
Tommy came back from the war.
Yeah.
And he had his GI loan, and you wanted to buy a house
Yeah, that's
in
what
North
the-
Colton. ¿Y qué pasó? What
Well, that
happened?
was before, but before we got married, and then he couldn't borrow money in order to build the house there. They didn't want, like I say, I hate to say it, but apparently they didn't want any Mexicans on that side of Colton.
Mhm.
And so we ended up getting married, and we rented an apartment in San Bernardino.
In San Bernardino.
And then eventually that lot was sold to, I forgot her name, Gonzalez, I believe it was. They bought that place and they built a house and all that there.
Mhm.
And, but otherwise, we never got to.
Stay in Colton.
we never
Because of
wanted to
that,
live
yeah.
up there. We even had the plans, we had the plans for the house and all that.
Well, you had everything
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we had it up there. So we still have those plans. And of course, we look at it now and think, boy, I mean, we need a bigger house than what we had there.
Well, I understand that not only Tommy, but also many of the veterans that came back,
Yeah.
that were part of Tommy's group, were not able to buy houses in North Colton either.
No, no.
Yeah.
Just, we had to stay on this other side, and there was not much where we could, like I said, there was not much where we could live, because they
Mhm.
were all, during the war, there was a lot of people around,
Mhm.
so there was no residence or any place they can live in. And all that.
Mhm.
In Riverside, that was the worst part, that it was
Mhm.
really bad out
Mhm.
there at Riverside, but we finally found one little tiny place. But, it's funny, a lot of things
Mhm.
that we went through. Of course, I never had anybody in the service, it's just me and my brother.
Mhm.
And my brother was younger than I was. But, of course, later on in the years, yeah, he was in Japan
Mhm.
as a soldier and all that at the time, my brother.
Who was your brother?
My brother.
Your brother, okay.
Yeah. And
¿Y cómo se
he was
llamaba?
graduated from Colton.
What was his name?
Marcelo.
Marcelo
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez?
Yeah, he was very active there at the high school too.
Mm.
Yeah, but I remember him, he was very angry with me when I married Tommy.
Why?
Because he was just me and him.
Oh,
And
okay.
he said, oh, he didn't like the idea.
Was he angry or was he jealous?
I think both. Yeah, I remember that so well.
Well, you know, you talked about your grandchildren, eh? I forgot how many we had, that we came up, how many did we come up with?
16 grandchildren.
16 grandchildren, and how many great-grandchildren?
20.
20 great-grandchildren. Anyway, let me ask your daughters to talk about their families, eh?
Mhm.
Okay? And now let's start with Anna. Anna, tell us about your family. How many kids do you have, and where do you live?
I live in Redlands, and I'm a transplant there. I lived in South Colton on Fifth Street for 14 years and moved in 1995 to Redlands. No, I lied, 2005 to Redlands. And then,
Why did you move in? Why did
to
you
be
live-
closer to my daughter, first of all. She lived out there, and she has 3 kids now. And helping with babysitting, getting them to softball practice and their other activities for
On
school.
Fifth Street, where in Fifth Street?
I lived out in my mom's house at 779 South Fifth.
Oh, so you were Henry's
I didn't know him though.
neighbor.
Neighbor, yeah.
It's right on the
From
corner west,
South-
Congress and Fifth.
just a duplex and an empty lot from Congress Street
Uh-huh.
on the west side of the street. And that's the property that my grandma and grandpa, my mom's mom and dad bought in '62 and built there.
Always sometime.
Yeah. So I lived there, we moved there with my kids back in 91 until 2005, 90 to 2005. And from there to Redlands. So my daughter works for Stater Brothers. She's a receiver there at the store on Valley Boulevard in Colton. My son works for General Electric as, he does, what do you call it, where they check work?
Quality assurance?
Quality assurance inspector for the wind towers that they built. And he travels between 4 different states and is in Texas right now. They are the love of my life, those 2. They're hardworking. My son has 1 son, my daughter 3 children, 3 girls, and hardworking people.
And you, what do you do?
Oh, I'm a teacher.
Where do
I
you
teach
teach?
at Southridge Middle School in the Fontana Unified School District, and I've done that for 25 years. Right now, 8th grade, language arts and social studies. I can't see me ever doing anything else. Though I am ready to retire, I just need 4 more long years, and then I'll be out of there
Yeah.
to live another life.
And you're a graduate of this place?
I'm a graduate of Cal State San Bernardino in 1990, and I got my master's degree here in education, middle grades education in 1998. 1998. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
me.
that's me. And what about my 6th grade student?
Oh, I have to tell you, everybody wanted to be in Mr. Rivera's class. Everybody wanted to be in Mr. Rivera's class, and I was lucky enough to be in your class.
Well, I guess the story is that I tell Lily all the time and different people that when I was teaching 6th grade, I had you, and we were singing "Pop Goes the Weasel," and then when we got to the place of "Pop Goes the Weasel," I looked at you and I said, "Papa's con chorizo."
Yes, I remember that.
Tell us
That's
about your
funny.
family.
Well, I am married, 25 years this last year. My husband, Anthony Moreno, is a myotherapist, and he works out of our home. We had reversed roles. When our oldest was born, our thought was, okay, we'll get a babysitter or have somebody watch Sydney, and we'll go back to work, and we just couldn't do it. So we reversed roles. I worked for Ralph's Grocery Company, the logistics division. I'm currently an HR manager with them now 29 years in September this year. And my oldest daughter, Sydney, is 23 years old, and she graduated from Cal State LA last June. and she is going to start her master's program and her intern to be teaching credentials in next month through Grand Canyon University. And then our youngest daughter is Taylor, and she lives in Arroyo Grande, which is right near Pismo Beach, and she's taking her general ed classes at the JC up there, and then working for a company called Mind Body in San Luis Obispo. And I'm very happy, so.
Mhm. And you went to school?
At University of Laverne. I went to Citrus College, and then graduated University of Laverne.
Good,
Yeah.
good, very good.
But you did other things besides that.
Before that, yeah, with Citrus College, I was quite involved with their music program there and
You
was
were
able
a
to travel.
violinist.
And yes, I was a violinist and did that for a little while, beginning of college, but then that took me more towards vocal music,
Mhm.
and I stopped the violin. And finally, maybe about 3 years ago, finally let that instrument go. It had been sitting, not making music for so many years, and it needed to be repaired and out there for somebody else to make music with it, so yeah.
And vocally, didn't you go to Europe?
I was very fortunate to be part of the Citrus Singers at the Citrus College, and my first summer we traveled to Japan and spent, I think we were traveling about 3 weeks in Japan and then Hawaii. And then second year was we did a music camp for junior high schoolers in Hawaii. And then the third year we traveled to Europe and was part of the International Choral Festival in Spital, Austria, and was able to go to Italy and Germany and Austria, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful time. And if not for the support of my mom and dad, it would have never happened. So yeah, very, very fortunate.
Well, you were busy.
Yeah, we were busy.
I remember right, you guys were the first ones
Yeah,
to
we-
represent America. here.
Well, we did sweep all categories of the competition, so it was a pretty neat event.
Yeah. And Kathy?
Ooh, okay, where do I start?
Yeah.
Okay, I went to UC Riverside and I graduated from there in.
Well, Henry and Frank went to
88.
UC Riverside.
Oh, yeah, yay. And then I got married to Michael Ornelas, who's, I think you interviewed my father-in-law too, Adam. They're all from Colton.
He was my first interview 14 months ago.
Yes, and we have 3 beautiful children, the loves of my lives too. My oldest is currently attending Cal State Long Beach. He's in jazz performance. He plays the upright bass, so I hardly get to see him. And then my middle one, Matthew, he's attending here at
What year is he here?
his junior year, and he's in communications.
And I understand he takes care of grandma.
Yes, he stays with my mom.
Yeah.
And he's currently one of the producers for the Local Matters show they put on here. So he's into videography and editing, and so he's
And cameraman.
cameraman. He also does internship at KVCR. And then my daughter, she's a sophomore at Oak Hills High School. We live in the high desert Hesperia, and her big thing right now is volleyball. She's plays at the high school and
Is she
and
pretty
club
good?
ball. Yeah,
Say
she's
yes.
getting better. She's getting. She doesn't have to us she's tall, but when you see her against some other gals playing, it's like, oh, you're short. But she loves it. In fact, next weekend we're going on a tournament to Las Vegas, so
Yeah.
she keeps us still very busy.
Are you
Busy.
working?
Yes. Oh, I skipped all that. I work for State Compensation Insurance Fund. I've been there for almost 25 years, about 25 years.
Yeah.
Started as a claims adjuster, and now I'm working as in our Human Resource Department doing musical accommodation, our medical management unit for our own employees, and helping them to continue to work. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations to all of you. I mean, you made mom and dad very proud of you.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was the expectation, that the opportunity to higher
That was what
learning was there.
Tammy was what he wanted to do the best thing was.
Well,
to make
again,
it.
getting back to your father, your dad said, no se deja, never give up.
Right.
Always put your best foot forward.
Right.
Always do your best. And I think all 3 of you are prime examples of his philosophy.
Yeah.
Of his philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the other two girls, Terry's the one up in San Francisco, and she's with two different offices for Social Security.
Manager?
And then the other
Cal-
one, she babysits her Adam's children.
Yeah. The last question that I'm going to ask you, Cecelia, the last question, is what good memory or best memory do you have of living in Colton?
Oh, I think my high school years. Many times I think about, I wish I was still back in school, you know. Yeah, those last 3 years, which was a sophomore, junior, and senior.
Mm-hmm.
I think were my best years that I enjoyed there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that I got involved with, which helps be involved in something. And otherwise, the friends I had, the church, I was very active with the church also. And what else did I do? Well, I love skating. And I can't even remember what else that I did there, but Colton was, in fact, I was just thinking about it, I think it was yesterday. Of all the schools I went to and all that, Colton was the top one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went to quite a few schools, like I said, elementary school and junior high in Riverside and all that. But Colton was the one that, I never cared for Poly High School. But Colton High School was a very, very different. And I really enjoyed it, and my teachers, my classes, everything I had, the cafeteria was great. I loved eating at that time. But no, Colton was the best for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's something I'll never forget.
very good.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Cecilia, thank you so much for taking off on a Saturday morning, and you coming all the way from Redlands, and Becky, you coming from a long way,
The 210 makes it a fast trip now.
and you coming from the high desert. Thank you so much for being with us this morning
Oh,
here at Cal State San
I
Bernardino.
enjoyed being here with all of you.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Thank you.
And thank
Well,
you
thank
for
you.
doing this
What an
project. This is
opportunity,
really
yes.
wonderful.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
You know, I mentioned, Cecilia, the best thing that we had, the best memory that you had living in Colton and growing up in Colton. But we had another initial interview about 10 months ago. And we were here, and we lost that video. So this way, I'm thankful that you came back again
I'm
and
happy.
gave us another chance. And I did tell you that was a dress rehearsal, right?
Yeah.
But after the interview, you mentioned that after Tom's funeral, you had some money left over,
Yes.
and that you wanted to provide that money for somebody here at Cal State San Bernardino, a scholarship for somebody that was majoring in business.
Yes.
And what we did, Frank, we contacted the Business Administration College, and then they contacted us. So we did make that contact, Cecilia, and I think you did send the $1,000
Yeah.
check to the
Yeah.
to
Maybe
the.
for, I believe, two scholarships, I think.
We're looking at 2 500 scholarships, and I think the applications will go out this quarter, these coming months, and they will be doing the selection in May or June. And they're gonna have a luncheon, so you'll be invited to the luncheon when they announce the recipients of the scholarship.
Okay, okay.
So thank you so much for providing that
That'll be
scholarship for
very-
our students.
I'd be very happy to hear that.
Thank you so much.